In the wake of the Orlando massacre, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton have been sparring over gun control and national security. But Clinton's about to switch gears and slam the billionaire on the economy.
That's right. In her latest article, Heidi Przybyla, USA Today senior political reporter, interviewed Hillary Clinton, who says she will deliver a speech in Columbus next Wednesday to make, quote, a similar case on the economy that I did on foreign policy, that Donald Trump is erratic and temperamentally unfit to be responsible for the world's largest economy. Well, joining us from Washington is the author of that article, Heidi Przybyla, and here with us in New York is Caitlin Huey-Burns, national political reporter for RealClearPolitics. So, Heidi, to you first, did she give you any specific examples on how she plans to paint the picture that Donald Trump is bad for the economy?
She did, Vlad. But first of all, I think this is confirmation that the Clinton campaign is going to try to paint and define Donald Trump through the same prism on virtually every issue, on foreign policy, on economics. It all comes down to temperament. And what she told me was that that applies to the economy in terms of incoherence. She said that Donald Trump, one of the main ways that he's selling himself, particularly to middle class and lower income voters, is that he is kind of a man of the people, that he's going to do more for the middle and lower class than previous Republican nominees. But she says when you take a look at his plan, and this is where the specifics come into play, she took specific aim at his tax plan. And she said, for example, he's creating in his tax plan a whole new 15% bracket for the same hedge fund managers and private equity guys that everyone is up in arms about right now because they pay a lower rate than the rest of taxpayers. She said, well, under Donald Trump's plan, he actually creates an entire new bracket that's even lower than the current 20% rate, lowering that down to 15%. And she said, this is just one example of how basically the rhetoric that he is espousing on the trail doesn't match up with what is actually in his plans. She will not unveil her broader middle-class tax plan at this time, so I think it's going to be basically the economic equivalent of that blistering foreign policy speech that she gave a week or so ago in San Diego.
And she got rave reviews for that foreign policy speech. But when you talk about Donald Trump, Caitlin, this is kind of his bread and butter business. He's known as the billionaire, right? Mm-hmm. So how damaging could it be? Do you think Hillary Clinton will be successful in trying to tarnish his reputation as a businessman?
Well, we've seen that his policies, to the extent that they exist on the economy, are something that are received well by his supporters. They kind of like the nature in which he talks about it. But the argument that the Clinton campaign will make is on the specifics. And we've seen this group of supporters not really receptive to policy specifics. So I think the things like going after Trump University, going after the specifics on the tax plan are speaking directly to those voters to kind of say, look, he's telling you that he's going to do these things, but here's what he's actually proposing. Whether or not that resonates with that group is one question, but it could perhaps identify with independent voters.
And I mean, Heidi, a lot of people have said that some of Donald Trump's policies, for example, imposing a 30% tariff on China, would be detrimental to the market. But on that end, Hillary Clinton herself has some weaknesses when it comes to the economy. For example, there are people that think that she is too close to Wall Street. Then that may be good for the Wall Street banks, but not good for middle-class Americans.
And that's, of course, been a key point throughout the primary campaign and why she probably feels that it's imperative for her, now that she's in a more of a two-person race, to define Donald Trump as that person who, he was kind of the populist coming out, the populist firebrand coming out of his primary. She doesn't want to be continually painted as the person who's actually on the side of business. She wants to put Donald Trump in that light. And I think Caitlin makes a good point that his voters so far haven't been so swayed by policy specifics. I don't think that she can necessarily break through with his voters, but I think she's right that in terms of independent voters and maybe some of those Democrats who maybe were thinking of crossing over on that issue of economics, the more she can get out early and seek to define him as the person who's actually carrying water for big business, the better.